After 27 years, I finally beat Final Fantasy VII. Also somehow managed to stay 95% story spoiler free over that time. It's just one of those games that I started so many times, but always got sidetracked and just never found a way to finish it. Everybody has a few games like that, right? 26 years? Welcome to completion number 61 of the Potato Backlog Project. For more info on the project, more backlog videos, and all sorts of fun stuff, see the links below. And make sure you stick around to the end of the video for the Sephiroth approved Tater Raider. Now let's talk a little bit about Final Fantasy VII. I feel like there isn't really much I can say about Final Fantasy VII that hasn't already been said. This is a classic. This is one of those landmark games that changed the way games were made and changed the way people thought about RPGs as a genre. It finally put JRPGs into the mainstream in the West and ushered in a run of incredible role-playing games for the original PlayStation. It showed the world that epic cinematic style storytelling could be done within the video game medium and still have a complex, deep gaming experience along with it. So I'm just gonna talk a bit about my personal experience with the game. I mean, how could I even call myself a gamer having not beat Final Fantasy VII over all these years? This game came out when I was around 15 years old. Prime time to nerd out on a lengthy, massive game. But when you're 14 or 15, you don't really have the buying power to pick up every new game that comes around. This was also smack dab in the middle of a new console war, and convincing your parents in the 90s that you needed one more console was an extremely difficult thing to do. I was, however, able to check the game out at a friend's house. I remember being in awe of the computer graphic cutscenes, the pre-rendered 3D backgrounds with fully 3D characters that you controlled. Seeing these things on a TV right in front of your eyes for the first time back then was an incredible experience. I actually liken it to the first time I saw Mario 64 running with my own eyes. It would end up being a few years before I would actually own the game for myself. Final Fantasy VII stayed on my list of wants until late 2000-ish, when I finally had some purchasing power and got a copy for myself. Life has a funny way of changing our priorities. Although I was able to finally get a copy of the game, I was also in university at the time, and my gaming time took a serious downturn. Throughout university, I did attempt to play the game numerous times, but I never usually made it more than a few hours in before becoming sidetracked, forgetting where I was the next time I tried to play, and just starting it all over again a few months later. I unfortunately ended up having to sell a lot of my game collection at one point during this time period. This became a reoccurring thing in my life due to one thing or another. I ended up buying and selling a lot of games from the time I graduated up until a couple years ago. A solid 20-year rotating video game door. I got to play and experience a ton of great titles over that time, but wasn't always able to finish them all before moving on from them. Final Fantasy VII somehow always got lost in the latter part of that mix. I don't really know why, maybe the length, maybe where I was at in my life. I really don't know. Luckily for me, the game has remained popular over the years, and they ended up putting an updated version out on the Xbox a few years back. I purchased it and had a few more start-stops with it, and then along came the Potato Backlog Project, and finally I had no more excuses. The version of the game I played had a couple features that helped play a game this style in modern times, especially for someone as time crunched as I am these days. There's a game time speed up option that you can turn on and off on the fly, and it bumps up the game speed by 3 times. There are a ton of things that aged well in Final Fantasy VII, but there are some things that did not. Parts of this game can be extremely slow. Walking and running around the world, movement up ladders specifically, non-CGI cutscenes, and even just standard grinding for levels were helped out a ton with this speed up option. Purists might tell me I missed out on the authentic experience, but I'm 41 years old, and climbing a ladder for a real-time 60 seconds, grinding 2 days for a few levels, being lost and trying to get your bearings while constantly being hit by random battles, it's just stuff I don't want to deal with today. The designers obviously knew this when they made the updated version, and I'm grateful for the new options. They also put an option in to turn the random battles on and off when you want, and there's also a setting on the fly that you can charge up your limit break limitlessly, kind of like an easy mode. These are also options that would be great for people that want to do multiple playthroughs of the game. It's so jam-packed with stuff, it is extremely easy to miss things with only one playthrough. I found out after I finished that I actually missed out on 2 party members that could have joined. 2 entire party members. The other type of gamer that might benefit would be someone who finds all the options of the battle system a little overwhelming. If you just wanted to experience the story, see the monsters, and play the game on a more casual level, then they've made that 100% possible for any gamer today. Myself personally, I use the speed up a lot in my playthrough. I only use the limit break option when I needed to mindlessly grind some levels and catch up, and I turned off random battles maybe 3 or so times to figure out where I was in a couple more difficult to navigate areas. I died a lot playing this game, so I feel pretty good about the authenticity of my playthrough. I really enjoyed the story, the battle system, the way materia worked was really cool, the feeling of nostalgia in a turn-based battle system, the characters, and the overall look of the game. All these things were super awesome. I won't go too in depth because, as I said off the top, there isn't anything I can really say that hasn't been said. There are channels to this day that still make fresh, solid, day-to-day in-depth content about this game, so I'm just gonna leave it to the pros. I'm beyond excited to play the 2020 remake now, which funnily enough, I bought and sold already a few years ago without playing it. Rebirth is also on the horizon, so it's just a really great time to be a Final Fantasy fan. 5 happy potato faces out of 5. A piece of gaming history with a modern way to experience and play it. A little bit of a different style of video for me today, but there are some games I just don't feel like I can do justice talking and writing about. So a little bit more of a personal story about myself and the game made a little bit more sense for me with this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Be kind to yourselves and others that deserve that kindness. We're on to the next one. What? Tappity tap. We'll leave it to the JRPG pros to write about the in-depth complex systems going on here. Shiva was possibly a blue stripper. Summons were super cool. I also managed to somehow stay 95% story spoiler free. Yo, Sephiroth, evil. Let's go.